Hi guys, welcome back. So last time we actually did show our cactus collection. We have it all right here. But this time what we're going to do is we're actually going to show what it looks like 2 weeks after watering the collection. So the cactus look a lot more green and a lot of them are flowering. So that's what we'll be showing in this video.
So these are all the same plants 2 weeks after I watered them. The first video, I think I just watered them. This is 2 weeks later. At this time, I'm hoping all the water's in the plant and the soil is fairly dry. You can see most of the plants have sucked up water. These are all maybe 5 to 10-year-old plants from seed. This is an older one, but you can see how fat he is from sucking up water. See how that light green? I also fertilized them at the same time. When I fertilize them once a year. I won't water them again for another 2 weeks, depending on the weather. And after you water them, sometimes they'll burst out with flowers. These are the summer flowers. This is an Arizona cactus, Mammillaria grahamii. They flower during the monsoon. It's in the morning now, so it's not that hot, but I have a picture of the flowers all open. Yeah, I just cut the top off this and re-rooted it. And the bottom part's throwing out little pups. This is Mammillaria deherdtiana. These are hard from seed, so we'll propagate them this way. Here's another Conophytum in summer rest mode. You would think he was maybe dead, but will have little green stems forming underneath the old outer skin. He's waiting for fall. Conophytum facturnium flowering extra early for some reason. I guess he did that last year too. But there'll be more flowers in a couple months. These are a couple of saguaros we brought back from Arizona. Started watering them when it got warm, and they're having a little bit of growth. I don't expect them to get too big in these pots, but yeah, it's okay. They'll be dwarf saguaros. This one got a little sunburned, I guess. They don't like a lot of sun when they're little. This is the Echinocactus texensis. This is the one we used the homemade nicotine sulfate on, and he's all fat from water and two nice fruits. He won't get watered again for at least a month. But yeah, his roots are good. Have some seeds in there. Another Mammillaria. You can see the flowers starting to form in a ring around here after it's been watered. So that's when they grow. Half the year they're dry, and half the year they get moisture and they grow. That's what the stem succulent does. It saves all its water for the dry period. And for cactus, almost all of them, the growing period is in the summer, and that's when it rains. Not in my climate, but in the climate they're from, the deserts. So he's going to have some flowers. I don't know what kind of Mammillaria this is, but he's more common, but he's still very, very cool. This is Mammillaria herrerae, seed grown. After I watered them, I guess they flowered already, so all they're going to do is kind of puff up. They have kind of a tuberous root, also rot prone. They're from farther south in Mexico, and they're sort of hard to grow from seed because the seed ripens deep inside the plant body. There's a seed pod ripening there. We won't be able to see it. And you have to kind of fish the thing out with a pair of tweezers. And so they're not that commonly grown just because they're difficult. But they are pretty neat, pretty fascinating kind of little Mammillaria from seed. There's some seed pod ripening in there, and there's probably one ripening there. You can only kind of tell because the spines, the tubercles are sort of forced apart as the seed pod ripens. But yeah, another Mammillaria herrerae from Mexico. This is Astrophytum coahuilense. After I watered him, he's going to shoot a bunch of flowers up. Has a big yellow flower. This is a pretty old seed grown plant from 1994. I find that they grow a little bit better in plastic tubs. They were drying out too fast in clay. And same soil mix. Don't water them very much. They're difficult to keep alive from seed here because it's too humid, but once you get them up, they're not too bad. This is Mammillaria luethyi, named after Jonas Luethyi, German botanist, rediscovered, I think, on the border of Texas and Mexico. No one knew where it was from for a long time. This is a particularly beat up and ugly version of one, on its own roots, and it's got a really unique kind of spine. This one's not probably the best example of what they look like. Ariocarpus bravoanus, named after a Mexican botanist, Helen Bravo, and it's a smaller one. It's got these weird tufts that grow here, purple flower. It's I bought this one from Miles to Go, and yeah, they just grow away slowly, and you don't water them very much. Same as with the other cactus. And this is a plastic pot embedded in this ceramic thing. Just give it a little bit of insulation, and these plastic pots, after a few years they just crack and break apart. This kind of holds it all together. He won't need to be transplanted probably for a long time. This is more of an adult plant of the Mammillaria, magallanii. Used to be called Roseocentra. Here's the seed pods. They have flowers very early in the year, so they also don't like a lot of water. From the Chihuahuan desert. It's gravelly soil, don't water them much. Grow them under 50% shade. They'll live a long time.
And is that another one here, this large one?
Yeah, that's my original one from the 90s. I grew a bunch from seed I got from Mesa, but only one is left. I think the other ones I gave away because we were moving and I just couldn't move a lot of cactus back then, unfortunately. This is Thelocactus hexaedrophorus, and he's growing a new spine after the water. He's getting nice and fat, has a great big root. This is from Mexico, still doesn't need a lot of water, still from the Chihuahuan limestone desert. And these spines, just be careful. Has a big white flower. It's you can still rot these, but they're not quite as rot prone, and they grow faster than the Ariocarpus. But I still consider them kind of the living rock type cactus from the Chihuahuan desert. There's so many different kinds of cactus from the Chihuahuan desert down into Mexico. It's amazing. Astrophytum myriostigma. This is the variety quadricostatum because it's got 4 ribs. He's setting some seed after I watered him. The seed pod ripened and opened up pretty quickly. You don't have to wait a year for these. These come quick, and the seeds also sprout very quickly too.
Are those the seeds right there? Those little like shriveled black things?
Yep. And yeah, it's totally ripe. Just fell right off. So these are ready to go whenever. I'm not going to grow them this year, but yeah, there they are. Coryphantha retusa. After I watered it, he's pushing up this flower pod, probably from last year's flowers. So hopefully I'll get some seed. These grow extremely slow for me. They need a little more compost in the soil. They come from some southern part of Mexico, a little more tropical, probably will freeze, and they just grow slow for me, but they're pretty neat looking. This is Lithops optica rubra because it's red. It's from Namibia, near the ocean. These don't get watered now, and you can see these big fat leaves here. They're going to be absorbed and eventually be skinny, like this other one. That's where they'll get their water from, and they'll get water in the fall. You don't water them this time of year, and I use a lot of sand. Gravelly sand in the soil, because even more so than the Ariocarpus, these are stem succulents. If they get too much water and start rotting, you can't save them. They just turn white and die. So just be careful on the watering, and they'll do good. Here's another fissuratus seedling, probably 10 years old, but I don't know, they get this extra skin, so maybe that shiny liquid will turn into this extra skin, or maybe not. I don't really know what causes that, but it's the mystery of the Ariocarpus. But other than that, he looks pretty good. Here's some more Lithops sprouted at the same time. I sprout them in the fall. You can sprout them in the fall or the spring. In this climate, I would not sprout them in the summer. This is Fulcips, variety Lactina, and it had a lot of germination on these. So we'll separate these out in the fall or winter. You can see they have their true leaves. They don't start out this way, but they get their true leaves after a few months. These are Lithops. I like to grow these too. This is karasmontana. They don't really get much water at all in the summer, unlike a cactus. I find they like to go summer dormant, grow in the fall and the spring. And these are from 2020, and they look like they're doing pretty good. They'll be transplanted maybe this fall. A pretty crowded pot. Mammillarias from Mesa. They're microthele, these little guys, and then these are supposed to be Echinocactus, although I'm not sure that's what they are. These probably grow a little bit faster and easier than some of the other cactus I grow. These will be separated out in the fall. I don't like to separate them in the growing season. I'll wait till the rest seasons, fall, winter, or early spring. So here's a pot from 2020, so they're 2 years old. We've got Escobaria duncanii, that's these spiny ones. And in here I also put bochii and gregii. Bochii are the white ones, and gregii are these sort of brownish spined ones. And they'll probably need to be transplanted this fall. 2 years old. More cactus. These are Turbinicarpus yarningii. I grew a bunch of these from seed. They don't seem to rot as easy as some other plants. They grow slowly. They have a nice white flower in December. Early in the year, they get a big fat tuberous root. Treat them like Ariocarpus, even though I said they don't rot as easy, but don't take chances. Here's a little tiny guy, but yeah, here they are. These are fun and neat to grow. This is another one. They usually are solitary, but sometimes when you grow from seeds, you get interesting plants. He's just got a whole bunch of offsets. And I don't know why this one offsets compared to the other one, but I'll take it. It's kind of neat. It's unusual. He had split earlier from too much water. I don't know if you can see that. Maybe that's why, but they'll recover from that. So just a warning sign. You don't want to water them too much. They'll just suck water up until they burst. This is Mammillaria coahuilense. And after I watered it 2 weeks ago, it shot these seed pods out, which are pretty colorful. This plant grows a big, fat tuberous root like an Ariocarpus, and should probably be treated the same way. Just don't water them very much, maybe 4 or 5 times a year. Make sure the soil drains very well. And these are from seed. These are probably at least 10, 12 years old.
So inside these seed pods, if you were to open them up, the seeds would be inside of them?
Yeah, they're these reddish, flattish seeds. I grew these from seed, and I'm going to have a lot more seed, which I can, I don't know, do something with. These are Escobaria minima from seeds, 2014. This one even has a little flower. Another miniature. These are from Texas. They grow in a unusual kind of soil, and they're kind of an endemic. But they don't seem to be too hard to grow. They just don't get very big. And they can take a little more water, because I think because they're from northern Texas, they might get a little more winter rain. But you can still rot them. They're kind of pretty. These are Mammillaria magallanii, also called Roseocentra, from seed 2016. Another miniature. They're kind of a reddish tin. They will also start flowering now. I have some bigger ones. They're also sensitive to too much water. You treat them like an Ariocarpus. It's like a hardcore desert Mexican plant. Don't water them very much. They're treated like adult plants now. Yeah, these are Ariocarpus coahuilense, grown from seed from 2013, and they also don't need much water. This bench gets a little more shade because they were seeds, but I would say at about this time, they haven't flowered yet, but they should be treated like adult plants at this time. Less water, and they'll grow very slowly. Here's a fissuratus from seed, and he's puffed up from water. I'm going to treat him like an adult plant too. I won't water him any more than those big ones, especially since he's in a plastic pot. Although in the video you see that I changed the soil to an adult soil, which is mostly rock and pumice, just so they have to dry out within a week after watering in this climate. This is the Mammillaria crucigera. They're also fat from taking up water. They also don't need very much water. They grow on cliffs. So I grow them the same way as the Ariocarpus, even though the root's much different, not much water. This is a Turbinicarpus pseudopectinanus. It needs a little bit more organic in the soil, I think. And same thing, not much. None of these need much water. They're all desert plants. After water and fertilizer, the big Ariocarpus have swelled up, and the small ones, which we had to transplant just out of precaution, you can see the green, so they're swelled up. They won't get watered again for at least a month. They will just store water, and in this climate, they really don't need much water. Big ones, same thing. They're mostly in pumice and rock. Hopefully they'll flower for us in September, October. Yeah, this one swelled up with water, big, green. In the winter they'll turn more reddish because I don't water them. And yeah, he's doubled in size since I first bought him.
And about how old is this plant?
I've had him for about 20 years, but I think he must have been at least 20 years when I bought him. So I guess 40. Nice big single-headed Ariocarpus fissuratus. Should have flowers in September. This one's getting a little bit of sun stress right there.
Is that what these yellow parts
That's what
are?
this red is, acanthocyanines. Okay. But that's not very much. In the wild, they can get a lot more sun stressed, and they're usually not this big. So he's okay. So we'll put him. They're very green now because of the water and probably the fertilizer. Like this one, you can see a lot of green. He really puffed up from water. So as long as they look big and fat like this, they're not going to get watered again.
So you only water them once they start to look kind of shriveled up?
Yeah, probably water these 4 or 5 times a year, mostly in the summer growing season. That's it.
And do you water, like, is it different times to water, like the smaller ones versus the larger ones?
Probably at the same time.
Okay.
More after watering. Most seed grown, 5 years old, maybe a little more, 10. Starting to flower. This is Mammillaria slovenii from the Sonoran Desert on the southern tip of Baja, California. There's 2 of them. This is the Echinocactus rigidimus from Arizona Desert, Sonoran Desert. Tucson. They're flowering. These usually flower in the spring, but they're having a second bloom. Turbinicarpus mendicianus. I think it's variety Schwartzii. They're doing good. Seed grown. All fat from water.